published, 6 o'clock EDT, the 27th of April 2018, updated, 8:46 EDT, the 27th of April 2018. Having kept the world waiting for 4 tantalizing days, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge have finally revealed their newborn son is called Louis Arthur Charles. Royalists and bookmakers alike have waited patiently since Monday to find out the name of the new arrival and fifth in line to the throne. The baby will be known as His Royal Highness Prince Louis of Cambridge. The name serves as a poignant tribute to Prince Charles' beloved great-uncle, mentor and honorary grandfather, Lord Mountbatten, who was killed in 1979 when the IRA placed a bomb in his fishing boat. More than 100,000 bets were placed across the UK betting industry on the baby name, with both Albert and Arthur leading the way as the bookmakers' favourite. But William and Kate have plumped for a moniker used for centuries across the Channel by the French, who have had 18 kings called Louis. Bookies are now quids in after William and Kate chose the name, which had odds of 21. Millions of people around the world watched as the newborn prince was brought out onto the steps outside the hospital on Monday. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge with their newborn son outside the Lindo wing at St Mary's Hospital in Paddington. Royals traditionally keep the public guessing before revealing their choice of name. William and Kate took 2 days to announce both George and Charlotte's names, informing the Queen of their choice beforehand. Mike and Zara Tindall used Twitter to unveil their daughter's name 6 days after she was born in 2014. Princess Beatrice's name was announced 2 weeks after her birth in 1988. In 1982, the Prince and Princess of Wales waited 7 days before announcing Prince William's name. The first French King Louis I, known as Louis the Pious, reigned between 778 and 840. The most famous was Louis XIV, known as the Sun King, whose reign started aged 4 and lasted 72 years and 110 days, the longest recorded of any monarch of a sovereign country in European history. Queen Elizabeth's reign is currently in its 66th year. The last one was Louis XVIII, who reigned for a year until Napoleon took power for a second time in 1815 and ensured the monarchy was destroyed. The name serves as a poignant tribute to Prince Charles' late uncle, Lord Mountbatten, great-grandson of Queen Victoria and uncle to Prince Philip. His full title was Admiral of the Fleet Louis Francis Albert Victor Nicholas Mountbatten, 1st Earl Mountbatten of Burma. In 1979, Mountbatten, his grandson Nicholas, and 2 others were killed by the Provisional Irish Republican Army, IRA, which had placed a bomb in his fishing boat, Shadow V, in Mullinmore, County Sligo, Ireland. Earlier this week Prince William teased his newborn could be given the name Alexander or the rather less traditional moniker, Jerry. Australia's High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Alexander Downer, suggested to Prince William he should call the boy Alexander during an Anzac Day service at Westminster Abbey. The Duke of Cambridge was joined by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle at Westminster Abbey for the traditional service, meeting a number of people in a line-up at the door of Westminster Abbey. William could be heard joking with one man that his son has a strong name as he arrived for an Anzac Day service at Westminster Abbey on Wednesday. Prince William playfully joked about potential names. Australia's High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Alexander Downer, suggested to Prince William he should call the boy Alexander. Have you thought about the name Alexander for him? The former foreign minister asked. Prince William's appeared keen on the idea. Well, it's funny you should say that. It's a good name, he said. Alexandru is the middle name of the baby boy's great-grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, and Alexander is also the middle name of the newborn's older brother Prince George. However, Prince William agreed the name Jerry was a strong name after Mr. Downer suggested his New Zealand counterpart, Sir Jerry Makepery, would also like to see the baby named after him. The newest member of their royal family has been named His Royal Highness Prince Louis of Cambridge. The newest member of the royal family has been named Louis Arthur Charles. The baby will be known as His Royal Highness Prince Louis of Cambridge. Louis. The name is French and German in origin and means renowned warrior. It is one of William's middle names, and Prince George also has it as a middle name. Lord Mountbatten was born Prince Louis of Battenberg in Windsor in 1900. His great-grandmother was Queen Victoria and his sister was Princess Alice of Battenberg, Prince Philip's mother. Arthur is William's middle name, and a link to the legendary King Arthur adds a special royal pedigree. The name means bear, currently a popular baby name in its own right, and the art link suits this pair of history of art graduates perfectly. Charles is a time-honored royal name and ever popular with the upper classes, making it the perfect way to honor William's father. It means man or warrior and suits our new bonny prince. It is considered an unlucky royal name for a king, as Charles I was executed and Charles II's reign featured the plague and the Great Fire of London. Lord Louis Mountbatten, who was a British statesman and naval officer. Lord Louis Mountbatten, the last Governor-General from Britain, waving a cheery farewell to the crowds in Delhi. William and Kate are plumped for a name used for centuries across the Channel by the French, who have had 18 kings called Louis. The first was Louis I, known as Louis the Pious, who reigned between 778 and 840. The most famous was Louis XIV, known as the Sun King, whose reign started aged 4 and lasted 72 years and 110 days, the longest recorded of any monarch of a sovereign country in European history. Queen Elizabeth's reign is currently in its 66th year. Louis XVI was the last king of France before the fall of the monarchy during the French Revolution and was the only king of France ever to be executed. His wife Marie Antoinette was also executed by guillotine, but historians claim she never said the "let them eat cake" phrase she is best known for. Their son Louis XVIII, the Duke of Normandy, reigned for a year until Napoleon took power for a second time in 1815 and ensured the monarchy was destroyed. Lord Louis Mountbatten, wearing the Veterans of Foreign Wars Merit Award. Lord Mountbatten was born Prince Louis of Battenberg in Windsor in 1900. His great-grandmother was Queen Victoria and his sister was Princess Alice of Battenberg, Prince Philip's mother. He was particularly close to Prince Charles before Uncle Dickie, as he was known in the family, was assassinated by the IRA in August 1979. Lord Mountbatten was Admiral of the Fleet in the Second World War and the last Viceroy of India. On the day he was killed, Mountbatten, who was the Duke of Edinburgh's uncle and the Queen's second cousin once removed, had set sail on pleasure boat Shadow V for a fishing trip. But a bomb had been smuggled on board the night before, and once the boat was a few hundred yards offshore it was remotely detonated. Other famous Louis, the name is also shared by Louis Tomlinson, the singer-songwriter from One Direction. The 26-year-old was born in Doncaster before joining the boy band, who went on to worldwide fame after appearing on The X Factor. He later appeared as a guest judge on the show before launching a number of solo projects. He has a son with now ex-girlfriend Brianna Jungwirth. Louis Armstrong was a world-renowned musician and singer, perhaps best known for his rendition of What a Wonderful World. Born and raised in New Orleans, USA, his instantly recognizable gravelly voice and unparalleled trumpet skills saw him rise to prominence in the jazz scene during the 1920s. He enjoyed a long career spanning 5 decades, culminating with his induction into the Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame in 2017. Fashion-conscious Kate may have been influenced by one of her favorite luxury fashion houses, Louis Vuitton. The 164-year-old French label, named after its founder, has become one of the world's leading retail companies and was valued at £13.7 billion in 2017. The French fashion designer lived from 1821 to 1892. He went from poverty in rural France and trekked into Paris before becoming the apprentice to a box maker. He later launched his own brand and was hired as personal box maker and packer to the Empress of France, under Napoleon III. Since his death, a fashion brand bearing his name has become a global brand. Pottermore, author J.K. Rowling's publishing company, has pointed out that Louis, Arthur and Charles are all members of the famous Weasley family from the Harry Potter books. The official Twitter account tweeted, Louis Arthur Charles, you were named after three iconic Weasleys. Royal baby named Prince takes his place in royal order of succession as fifth in line to the throne. The new Prince of Cambridge has become the fifth in line to the throne, pushing Prince Andrew out of the top six for the first time. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge's third child, a younger sibling to Prince George and Princess Charlotte, is now the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh's sixth great-grandchild. The boy, weighing 8 pounds 7 ounces, is also a great-great-great-great-great-grandchild of Queen Victoria. Here is how the line of succession looks now that Kate and William's new royal baby has been born. The name Louis is French and German in origin and means renowned warrior. Louis was the 71st most popular name in England and Wales, according to the latest available figures from the Office for National Statistics. In 2016, just 911 boys were given the name Louis in England and Wales. It was more popular in the early 2000s when it ranked around 39th, but was not popular throughout the 20th century. Following the baby's arrival, Prince Harry shifts down the line of succession to 6th place. The Duke of York, who was born second in line, has moved to 7th and Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie to 8th and 9th. Andrew falling out of the top 6 means he will no longer have to ask the Queen for permission to marry. Unlike Charles, William, George, Charlotte, and Harry, the first 6 people in the line of succession must have the Queen's consent before they can marry on May 19, as set out by the Succession to the Crown Act 2013. The Act's introduction also saw sex removed as a determining factor in the line of succession. It has also been claimed that the royal baby has been born a commoner. Royal historian Marlene Koenig told Town & Country, "It sounds complicated, but in the UK, the only people who are not commoners are the sovereign and peers of the realm, people with titles like Duke, Marquis, Earl, Viscount, and Baron. It was always thought that William and Kate would go on to have 3 children. Kate is one of 3 and had a happy home life with her sister, Pippa Matthews, and brother, James Middleton, and is close to both of her siblings. But William may need to adjust to caring for a newborn once again. Kate joked in the months leading up to her due date that her husband was in denial about having a third. By having more than 2 children, William and Kate are following in the footsteps of the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh, who went on to have 4 children, although there was a gap of 10 years between their second child, Anne, and third, Andrew. As a sibling to both future King George and spare to the heir Charlotte, the new baby is unlikely ever to be crowned sovereign. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge's third child, a younger sibling to Prince George and Princess Charlotte, is now the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh's 6th great-grandchild. The boy, weighing 8 pounds 7 ounces, is also a great-great-great-great-great-grandchild of Queen Victoria. Following the baby's arrival, Prince Harry shifts down the line of succession to 6th place. The Duke of York, who was born second in line, has moved to 7th and Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie to 8th and 9th. Andrew falling out of the top 6 means he will no longer have to ask the Queen for permission to marry. Unlike Charles, William, George, Charlotte, and Harry, the first 6 people in the line of succession must have the Queen's consent before they can marry on May 19, as set out by the Succession to the Crown Act 2013. The Duke of York is the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh's third child, but when Andrew was born in 1960 he leapfrogged his older sister, Princess Anne, in the line of succession. The Cambridge's third child will no longer be allowed to jump ahead of older sister Charlotte in the line of succession. Previously, under the ancient rules of male primogeniture, royal sons took precedence over their female siblings, even leapfrogging firstborn royal daughters. But a radical shake-up of the royal succession rules removed discriminatory male bias and came into force in March 2015, affecting babies born after October 28, 2011. The Succession to the Crown Act 2013 has already affected the Duke of Gloucester's granddaughters, Senna Lewis and Lila Gilman, whose younger brothers, born in 2012, now follow them in the line of succession. The new baby will be a prince or princess thanks to the Queen, who stepped in ahead of Prince George's birth to ensure all William's children would become HRHs with fitting titles. The Queen issued a letters patent under the Great Seal of the Realm in December 2012 when Kate was just a few months pregnant, declaring all the children of the eldest son of the Prince of Wales should have and enjoy the style, title and attribute of Royal Highness with the titular dignity of Prince or Princess prefixed to their Christian names or with such other titles of honour. A letters patent in 1917, issued by George V, limited titles within the royal family, meaning daughters born to William or Kate would not have been an HRH but Lady. Forename, Mountbatten Windsor instead, and second or later born sons would also have lacked the HRH title and become Lord. Forename, Mountbatten Windsors rather than princes. What were the names in the running? Here are some of the contenders: Albert, 1/3 Arthur, 11/4 Alexander, 8/1 James, 10/1 Philip, 12/1 Louis, 14/1 Henry, 16/1 Frederick, 20/1 Thomas, 20/1 Edward, 20/100 and 25/1 bar. Odds supplied by Ladbrokes. Alexandru is the name of the baby boy's great-grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, and the middle name of the newborn's older brother Prince George. There has never been an English king called Alexander, but 3 medieval Scottish kings ruled as Alexander. Alexander I reigned from 1107 to 1124, Alexander II from 1214 to 1249 and Alexander III followed him from 1249 to 1286. Alexander derives from the Greek word meaning protector of men, with Alexander the Great one of its most famous exponents. Arthur, one of Charles's middle names. Arthur is also one of William's middle names and was a middle name of the Queen's father, George VI. The legendary King Arthur was the mythical leader of the Knights of the Round Table, who supposedly lived in the 5th or 6th century. Once popular, the name fell out of fashion but has had a revival in recent years. Former Prime Minister David Cameron has a son called Arthur. The famous mosaic Alexander's Battle in the House of Fawn at the archaeological site of Pompeii. The legendary King Arthur was the mythical leader of the Knights of the Round Table, who supposedly lived in the 5th or 6th century. Albert. Queen Victoria used to insist that the name Albert was used as a middle name by her descendants, if not a first, in honor of her much-loved consort Prince Albert. By choosing Albert or Bertie for a boy, William and Kate would be honoring Queen Elizabeth II's father, George VI, who was actually Albert Frederick Arthur George but always known to his family as Bertie. Shy, stammering Bertie was forced to become king when his brother Edward VIII abdicated, but won the nation's affection by standing firm in London during the Second World War. Queen Victoria used to insist that the name Albert was used as a middle name by her descendants, if not a first, in honor of her much-loved consort Prince Albert. Pictured together Philip. A lasting tribute to the Duke of Edinburgh could see a Prince of Cambridge called Philip. Both Charles and William have Philip as a middle name. The Duke, known for his dedication to duty and his acerbic wit, has been married to the Queen for more than 70 years and is the nation's longest-serving consort. Frederica. Prince Freddie of Cambridge would have a historical link to the first Duke of Cambridge. Prince Adolphus Frederick lived from 1774 to 1850 and was a son of George III. He was apparently very fond of interrupting church services by bellowing out "by all means" if the priest said "let us pray." A lasting tribute to the Duke of Edinburgh could see a Prince of Cambridge called Philip. Charles William may have chosen to pay tribute to his father, but perhaps as a middle name as it may be considered too similar to Charlotte. William may have chosen to pay tribute to his father, but perhaps as a middle name as it may be considered too similar to Charlotte. James could have been chosen to signify Kate's affection for her brother, the baby's uncle, James Middleton. William already has a cousin James, the Earl and Countess of Wessex's son, Viscount Severn. James is a Stuart name. James I, son of Mary, Queen of Scots, had been King of Scotland for 36 years as James VI when he became King of England in 1603. James could have been chosen to signify Kate's affection for her brother, The baby's uncle, James Middleton, pictured in 2011 on his sister's wedding day. Other names: they could have chosen William as a middle name, but also perhaps Michael as a middle name out of respect for Kate's father. Kate's grandfather on her paternal side was called Peter, while on her maternal side, her grandfather was Ronald. Thomas also appears several times in Kate's family tree, as does Francis. Bookies have made millions from nationwide betting on the name of the royal baby after Kate and William chose the 21 outsider Louis as his name. Britons have taken advantage of the 4 days in which the royal baby went unnamed to have a flutter on what the new prince might be called. Arthur and Albert were two of the favourite names among punters, with Arthur around 11/4 and Albert at 1/3. Britain has been betting millions of the possible name of the royal baby, but bookies, like Ladbrokes Alex Sapati, pictured outside the Lindo wing, were the real winners today. Alexander was another favourite at 8/1, while James, Philip and Henry were all around 12/1. But the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge announced they had chosen the name Louis this morning, in an apparent tribute to the Prince of Wales's great-uncle, Earl Mountbatten, who was murdered by the IRA. With relatively few Britons have bet on the name Louis, bookmakers around the UK will now keep the vast majority of the money wagered. Alex Sapati, of bookmakers Ladbrokes, said, "Prince Louis has caught both bookies and punters by surprise. With it being one of Prince George's middle names, fans didn't see it as an obvious front-runner for Kate and Will's second son. It looks like we made the right decision to keep betting open until the very end for royal punters, rather than suspending the market or paying out early due to the rumour mill going into overdrive, as we so often saw over the last few days." The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge have named their baby son Louis Arthur Charles,